I am Ibram Kendi, and I'm so excited to be able to talk to the one and only Nic Stone about her new banger, Dear Manny. And I want to give her a formal introduction, if that's okay. Um, Nic Stone is the author of many novels, including the #1 New York Times bestseller, Dear Martin, and its New York Times bestselling sequel, Dear Justice. She also penned the young adult titles Odd One Out, an NPR Best Book, and an ALA Rainbow Book Top 10. Jackpot, a YALSA Quick Pick selection, and Chaos Theory, a YALSA Best Fiction book for young adults reading list selection. Her middle grade novels include Clean Getaway, a New York Times bestseller, and Fast Pitch, why is this going to take
Yalsa.
a Yalsa. She could have just been helping me out the whole time.
I mean, let's not let you have your moment, honey.
A Yalsa quick pick selection. Nic lives in the A and will continue to write books that ruffle feathers.
And will.
And certainly this book is one that ruffles feathers. And so it's been out, what, 2 days
Yeah.
now? And how are you feeling?
I haven't lost it yet. I'm getting there though. Cause this one's different. This one's different. And I've just been like in it. So I started touring on Friday of last week. I went to Dallas for the North Texas Teen Book Festival. So it's been a strange release week in the sense that like people have been buying and like acquiring the book for, 5 or 6 days. that's the thing that I really had to dig down into when I was working on this book, because whether you are born rich or poor, like, you didn't ask for that. So it's all about learning how to play with the cards you've been dealt. And if you realize that the way you play is cheating someone, being willing to change how you use your hand.
And so I'm trying to figure out a way to ask questions without giving away the plot line of the book.
Yeah,
and so,
we don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, and so forgive me if I'm like tentative in how I'm asking, but one of the things to your point is that at different points in the book, you show Jared wrestling with that.
Yeah.
In other words, he has a recognition that he's being treated in a particular way, or he's in a particular position because he's white. And so I take it that was
Absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing about the book that was not very carefully plotted. The words that I used, I was super specific about them. Like, this is probably the most meticulous I've ever been about writing a book. Part of the reason for that is because, like, well, accuracy obviously was very important. Emotional resonance and accuracy were very important to me. But I also, like, don't come for me, right? Because as I'm writing this character and as I'm writing his experiences, it was vital to me that he be real. I have friends that I grew up with who trust me enough to call me when they're seeing something and it seems unfair to them, and they want me to explain why it's necessary. Y'all, most of us learn the same history, right? The thing is, the older I got and the more I started to care about, like, whether or not that history was accurate, more interested I got in seeking truth. But the people I grew up with, they're still thinking along the same lines of the history that they know, right? So, like, there's something, I think it's really important that we make sure we are centering our own humanity, our individual humanity. When we're having these conversations, I hold myself accountable as a human being by taking the time to listen to somebody else, by making sure that there's the seeking out of some sort of, like, connection or point of commonality. I'm so tired of fighting, y'all. I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to go back and forth and, like, which one of us is right and who's wrong. I don't want to do that. I just want to come to a space where we care about each other and we care about other people. That's it.
and as you stated earlier, it seems as if trust is essential for creating that space.
Yeah.
And it seemed as if you certainly had a particular level of trust for the reader.
Yeah.
In deciding that you were going to write this book, which, of course, being a Black woman, being a main character who's a white male, I mean, you have to have a certain
100%. And I also trusted the people I had read for me. I trusted, there are a number of people. Hey, Wyatt, where's Wyatt? Wyatt's a dream, first of all. I met Wyatt when I was, I've known Wyatt since I only had one book out. Like, I met Wyatt when I was doing tour stuff for Dear Martin, right? And so Wyatt has become a consultant for me. So, like, I not only have him read, Wyatt was he was our reader for How to Be a Young Anti-Racist. This is the guy who read it and told me, do this here to make sure that this point is, you can teach this from this angle. Like, that's my guy, right? So there's also that sort of trust where the people that you do have access to, you trust them with your art, and you trust that they want the same similar things that you do, right? So for me, like, trust doesn't have to be earned, but it can be lost. And once it's lost, it's gone. But, like, I do my best to trust openly initially. And it's not the easiest thing, but I do find that it lends itself to, like, better relationships, better interactions, etc.
What's interesting is I suspect that many Black young people, particularly in this age range, are in the process of really developing a sense of self-recognition, particularly from a from a racialized standpoint.
Yeah.
And so even Black readers, it seems as if you're nudging them to even think about how white people are self-recognizing and, even racially. Was that also sort of purposeful?
Absolutely. Look, it's hard, right? Like, I'm here because my ancestors were enslaved. There's no getting around that. There's no changing that. There is no pretending that for me. I guess in the state of Texas, you can pretend that's not real, but here, I refuse, right? And even with that knowledge and that frustration, and with the knowledge that like I continue to be marginalized in so many ways, I also recognize the power of grace, even grace that's not earned or deserved. Like that's what grace is. I think most grace is you can't earn. I don't think you can earn grace, right? Like I don't think the idea of deserving it makes it not grace anymore. So I think based on my values and like what I want for my children, what I want for the earth, what I want for people as an entity, like I am all about holding space for that grace and giving people the benefit of the doubt, right? I think another thing that's really helpful, that has really helped me as of late, is just knowing what my own values are, right? Like I've taken the time to sit down and figure out what are the things that I value most. And the thing that I value most is love. I love. I love loving. I love being loved. And I love, it's like this really powerful thing that exists between living beings, and it moves us in so powerfully. So like my goal with everything is just like I just want to put more love in the world, bro. Like I don't have, yes, I'm tired. No, it's not fun constantly feeling like I have to teach people things, but also it's a privilege to have the knowledge, right? Like I'm trying to think of things from the opposite perspective. If somebody needs to learn something and they're coming to me, number one, it says that they trust me. That's beautiful. Number two, it says that there's something about me that gives them the impression that I have a certain level of knowledge. I'm honored by that idea, by that thought. And then third, like, if I had the knowledge, why not share it? You know, I think I've gotten tired of being angry, and I just don't have any angry energy right now. So
You did create a character that I suspect
my favorite character I have ever created
some
ever.
readers are going to be quite angry.
Uh-huh.
Tell us a little bit about this character. Think about the same person.
Uh-huh. I read Ronnie D's memoir to write this character. Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, former.
We called him Ronnie D.
Ronnie D.
We were like, who is he talking
Y'all know
about?
who Ronnie D. Y'all know who it is now. Okay. Better be glad I don't call him Voldemort. So I read his memoir. Right. Y'all, we just don't live on the same planet. Is the conclusion that I've come to after reading this man's memoir. We have such vastly different value systems. I'm like, you learned a completely different history than I did. Completely different. Because you are over there somewhere. So and I read that memoir so that I could accurately write John Preston LaPlante IV. And because look, if I was going to make Jared this like human person that people really like, we needed someone new to hate. And John Preston is that guy. And when I tell you he's from Florida, he played baseball. Like I just pull, ooh, Ronnie D. I mean, the one difference is that like Governor DeSantis was like the first person from his family to go to college. And like he's from this working class family and he felt really out of place at Yale. The fact that I could tell you all about this man's life, I am doing so much better than book banners who ban things without reading them clearly. And I did that on purpose because I really want to get a letter from somebody in Florida that's like, yeah, your book just got banned. So that I can be like, hey, governor, I based him on you, bro. You're doing exactly what I said you would in this book. but he's a real piece of work, man. You're gonna hate him. And I can't wait to hear people say awful things about him. It'll be very cathartic. But he was fun to write, y'all. Oh, he was fun to write. It was icky. I felt icky writing him, but also it was like, ooh, people really be believing this is true.
And then there's another character
Mm-hmm.
Who sort of creates this triangle
Mm-hmm.
to a certain extent. And this character, I think people are going to really be proud of this character
Yeah.
on certain levels.
And challenged. I think
certainly.
she's going to be quite the challenge.
Yes. And so, if you could tell us a bit about that character and why you felt it was critical to have her.
Yeah, I needed to put myself in something for once.
So it's interesting. I'm reading this character. I'm like, this person feels familiar.
So this character, I'm not going to tell you the character's name, but there's a character in the book that is me saying things that I can't say on the internet without getting doxxed. So there's that. She is the reason that Jared comes to he has a number of come to Jesus moments because of this character. And she pulls no punches, man. She's a firecracker. And she was so much fun to write. I'm tempted to give her own book. I just don't know what it would be about. But I do feel like she's the one who's not going to leave me alone next.
Yeah, you really want to, I don't want to give it away, but the first time she confronts Ronnie B.
Oh my
or
gosh.
John Preston.
Sis goes off, y'all. Like goes. That is my favorite part of the book. Because okay, it's somebody give me a book. We got to read this part. So I'm gonna read this out loud because first of all, I will tell you I don't know where it came from. I know where she's responding to something that I saw on Instagram, but but her response just like, oh, I was like, oh gosh, she really went off. Okay, almost there. Okay. So they're in a meeting, right? And in this meeting, the president of the student government, here, I'll just read from here. John Preston, thank you for that illuminating presentation, Miss Park, is it? Ari, as this is the third meeting I've presided over, I would hope you know my name by now. John Preston, fair enough. You mentioned DEI. Can you explain what you mean by that? Ari, diversity, equity, and inclusion, all concepts prioritized by this organization. John Preston, ah, I see. I thought those letters stood for didn't earn it. Ari, come again? Jared Fields, character who will not be named, rise to her feet beside him, and his pulse speeds up. Character. Sincerest apologies for interjecting, Ms. President, but I'd like to say something if it's okay with you. Ari, by all means. Character. Thank you. Though I presume the previous comment was a tasteless attempt at a joke, as an African-American female student, I would like to express my appreciation for the UCC's prioritization of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I would also like to point out that acquiring wealth through the cultivation by enslaved Black people of land stolen from Indigenous people, all while suppressing the political and economic advancement of women, banning and penalizing the immigration of Asian people, and stigmatizing the very existence of Latino people, and then holding on to that wealth through intergenerational nepotism, legislative bullying, and the exploitation of poor people, that is the epitome of didn't earn it. as my opponent so ineloquently put it. Thank you. Like, she don't play. I don't know where it came from, but once I read it, I was like, oh, woo.
Yeah, that was a moment.
Things that I can't say on the internet without getting even further banned.
And so after you finished writing, because I think in many ways, I think the story really picks up from there.
Mm-hmm.
And so did you feel that as you were?
Oh, 100%. I was like, oh, and we're off. Phew. Definitely.
And so I guess how did you, as you were trying to, really getting back to the main character, sort of situate yourself in his head?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you compare the creation of that character to other characters you created, like how would you, like was it harder, easier? Like how would you sort of?
I mean, it was different. You know, I don't know that I could say it was harder or easier. Some parts of it were easier, some parts of it were harder. But I mean, he'd been living in there for 7-8 years because he came to life in Dear Martin. Jared came to life in Dear Martin. And like from the first time we meet him, he is just grotesque. And I mean, he is actually, and I'm sure my Norcross friends are fully aware of this, he is actually based on a boy that I didn't like very much. Class of 2002, last name Christensen. And they're right there. They can tell you. A real piece of work, that guy. It's very unattractive now. So, sorry. Can't do anything seriously. So he's been there, right? And then writing him, like being inside his head, sometimes it was uncomfortable in there. And I think part of the reason for that is because just the when you have a person who recognizes that they have advantages and with that recognition is like, but why would I give this up? Like, it's uncomfortable. Like, that was a really uncomfortable space for me to be. And I think part of the reason it was uncomfortable is because I can understand it, right? Like, this book really forced me to reckon with privilege that I have. And that was incredibly uncomfortable. And so there was a lot of there were a lot of moments where writing him was a breeze. And then there were moments where I was like, ooh, this is not the most comfortable thing to write, but it's also because I kind of understand it and that makes me feel strange. So yeah, it was a journey. This book has been quite the journey. Writing about strippers. That no, quite literally, that is where I'm at now. I'm like, let me step aside for a second. So yeah, the truth of that will be clear next Wednesday. By the way.
So I'm going to come to y'all for questions. I just have one more question, and that is that I think the politics of a Black writer constructing a novel with a white main character, it actually it caused, I know we had early conversations about just how you have to sort of navigate this politics.
Mm-hmm.
And it just caused me to think, particularly as a nonfiction writer, that when I wrote a book that largely was about the ideas that white people had about Black people, that was much more accepted among Black people than when I wrote a book about Black people and our ideas about other Black people.
Yep.
And so I wonder if it's like the inverse for like fiction. In other words, like You see what I'm sort of getting at? In other words, so when you're a nonfiction writer, apparently, and you're Black, you're supposed to write about the ideas of white folks.
Yes.
When you're a fiction writer and you're writing about race, you're supposed to write about the ideas
Of Black folks.
of Black folks.
Yes.
Is that, and so then when you
Yes.
do the inverse,
We gonna see how we go, friends. What I will say, this book is me stepping into my power because my queer Black ass, female, absolutely wrote a book about a straight white boy, and people are buying it. So I win.
shout out to that. All right. Anyone have any questions for me? Please.
Oh, I hear the baby.
Hi, my name is Bria, and the question I have actually kind of coincides with the question you just asked about writing a book from, this white, point of view.
Mhm.
And so my question is, did that have any impact on your mental health while you were writing it, especially with the climate and everything that's going on right now? And if so, what ways did you balance that out with writing and still making sure that you had that well-being?
Oh, honey, I loved writing this book. This book was great for my mental health. And part of the reason it was great for my mental health is because of what I just said. Like, who gonna check me? That's how I felt when I was writing it, right? Mind you, it was absolutely terrifying at the same time. But also knowing I am writing a thing that people are going to buy. Like, Dear Martin has sold over 1 million copies. Like, people are going to buy this book, just like they bought Dear Justice. And so knowing that I can do that, and also knowing that, okay, I do have, so there's this Toni Morrison quote. I'm not going to butcher it, but essentially she talks about the ability of a writer is to like imagine what is not the self, to mystify, to familiarize the strange and mystify the familiar. That is the true test of their power, basically. So I leaned really hard into that quote too, because I wanted to prove to myself that I could write it. I wanted to prove to myself that like I can empathize with just about anybody. I wanted to like that. Those things, it actually made me feel better as a writer and more confident in a way, especially with everything that was going on. Because it was like, I'm about to tell you about yourself from your own body. That's good. Thank you for that question.
Hi. Oh. My name is Courtney. So my question is, sometimes like I would like dabble in writing, and I try to write from like the perspective of like a leader's or like rich like white person. But I find myself when I write, at some point during the chapter, I like lose the character's voice, and I'm not like myself again.
Yeah.
Like, how do you stay in the mindset of like someone who isn't like you when you're writing?
Oh, that's really good, Courtney. Thank you for asking that. I don't know. Like the storytelling process for me is like 98% magic and 2% things I can teach people. And the things I can teach people are like where to put your commas. Like it's nothing life altering or like so much of it comes from this inarticulable place. What I will suggest is that you write out a story in your own voice first, just to get it out, right? And I think that once you are more comfortable with your voice coming through, it'll be easy to slip into other skins. You're welcome.
Hi, Ms. Stone. My name is Ari. You said you're from Norcross?
I am.
I'm from Swanee. I just wanted to.
Hey.
Yeah. I just had a question about like the two main characters we have like are pretty extreme. At least like one's already seeking out education, and the other one is clearly rooted in right wing ideology, right?
Yeah.
My main question was that like most people I feel aren't in either of those camps. They're like
100%.
more remain neutral, right? And like really only care about their day-to-day lives, what they have to do, that kind of thing. So my main question was like, does the book have any like strategies on how to educate people that come from privilege but would rather remain neutral and not deal with the uncomfortable reality of other people being marginalized from their said privilege?
That's a really great question. I mean, I think on the whole, the goal of the book is just to provoke thought. I totally agree with you that most people are not on either extreme, but unfortunately, that does not make for very good fiction. Like, I would love to just be able to write our sweet little middle ground, but like, we like drama. We like drama. We're humans. We like gossip and stuff. But like I said, my hope is that like thought will be provoked in either direction. What I really care about most with this book is people recognizing that like you're who you are is up to you. Like you got to live with you forever. So make sure that the you that you're living with is somebody you actually like, you know. And that's what Jared's journey kind of, spoiler alert, not really, but it leads him to recognize that like I got to live with me forever. Who am I going to be? Yeah.
And I actually think those middling, neutral people, I think as they're reading those two characters, if they're being honest with themselves, they'll see themselves like in both characters.
Mm.
Thank you.
Perhaps a question for both of you. I have a young reader, and we found that it's super easy is a exaggeration maybe, but easy to find diverse characters in graphic novels. But we're struggling to find chapter books for young readers that have diverse characters.
The whole.
Any recommendations on resources or places that we can go to like seek recommendations for those books? Because not ready for your books yet, sadly,
Yeah.
but it's like there's none out there.
Phoebe, what do you think? Yeah. That's my editor talking, by the way. That's why I asked her. Oh,
Okay.
It's about a family who travels. Oh, thank you. It's about a family who travels around to different disasters. It's also like top, and a lot of people I don't really think did their research on the school, and so he was just like, I'm done. He was absolutely done. So now he's going the HBCU route.
Hey.
I have a daughter that's in that goes to Bowie, that's a HBCU student,
Mm-hmm.
but we're grappling with this youngest one now who wants to go to private school route for high school, and of course all of his top 10 colleges are PWIs. So we're
Let her do it, girl. He'll be back.
listen, it's a struggle, but I definitely wanted to thank you for that book, because after that one I was sold for the rest of the series. So I'm down.
I hope you like this new one.
I'm finished.
Oh, just kidding. Did you like it? Tell me the truth.
I did. I
You
did.
It's
So-
different though, right?
So I was a little heated, probably.
Oh,
like,
good.
So we're talking like midnight reading. So I started at like 10 o'clock and was like, oh, I'm gonna read a few pages, got tired, didn't put it down, kept going. And like I woke up on my mind, was like cussing people out in my head, like this just ain't right, you know? But again, I bought one, and then I bought one again tonight. So I'm gonna let somebody else have the one that I already bought.
Oh, I love that.
I
Thank
bought it
you.
from Target prior to us. Not
I didn't
going
even
to
know it's
Target.
at Target. Oh, snap.
Yeah, it was a pre-order. I ordered it in February and got it Wednesday. No,
Oh,
today's Thursday. Got it Tuesday. Yeah.
Wild. You would think I've never published a book before. I'm so geeked right now. Any other questions? All right.
No other questions? Other thoughts?
Ooh. Um. You need. I didn't say that. Just pointed it out. I was gonna say make sure you have like a solid, nice glass bottle of kombucha. Um. Maybe have black caviar with Ritz crackers. So you gotta like. You need bougetto, right? Some charcuterie. To go the charcuterie with kombucha. That's what to that's what to eat and drink while you read this one. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, of course. I was sitting in a Starbucks and a summary dropped into my head and I typed it out. Literally just the whole like what winds up being the jacket copy, like the inside flap of a hardcover, something like that just kind of dropped into my brain. And I typed it, I wrote it down, and I sent it to one of my friends, Pete, who's a white guy, so it was perfect. So that's where I don't know, it's that 98% magic thing. I'm a whole hardcore planner. Like I have a composition notebook for every idea where I pull together what the plot's gonna be, where like all of those things are done beforehand, and I have an outline so that I know what's gonna happen in each chapter. And then once I start writing, things can shift a little bit. I've rewritten whole books, but the core of the story stays the same. Like Dear Martin, the Dear Martin that everyone's read was not the original version. I still love the original version, and I really, really want them to publish it like so bad because it's different. It's the same story, but there's like it's a different angle. It comes from like a different angle. It's a slightly higher level read. It was more complex, but like I just go with like after I've outlined, it's time for me to sit down and execute. That's when I'm just like throwing things at the page within the parameters I set. Alana.
I can add one quick thing. I think I know from just having the ability to handle so many writers, almost every, I can definitively say that every writer process.
Totally
So
different.
it's really about, of course, you can hear sort of how Nick does it and other writers do it, but it's really about finding what works best for you and your voice.
Hello, my name is Alana, and I'm honored to say that I went to Nic Stone's high school. And thank you. This is amazing to get to hear from both of you and get insights into what you think about every day. I was wondering, talking about high school, that if I don't really know my question, but I'm wondering if you imagine this book or any of your books being taught in high school, in Norcross High School, what would you want a teacher to teach? What would you want that teacher to be like? So you answer the question how you want to.
Oh, I like this question, Alana. Yeah, I mean, look, the doc from Dear Martin is based on Case Weeks. So, like, that's how I want it to be. But that's how I want teaching to happen. Like, it's dedicated to him. The Dear Martin is dedicated to my 10th and 11th grade English teacher, who is hosting my Atlanta launch. So, like, sitting next to me in a couple of days will be my English teacher, right? But the way he ran his classroom is, for me, the way a classroom should be run, which is why Doc is written the way that he is. Because I think that one of the most important things that Mr. Weeks did do in that class was he just created so much space for us to talk about stuff, right? Like, it wasn't just about like right answer or red cup on the table is a symbol for what specific thing. Like, it wasn't like that in his class. Like, we actually got the dialogue. And I remember our Scarlet Letter project, like, we each had to choose a Scarlet Letter. And like, I'm sure a lot of people had to do that, but the way he did it, like, you had to condemn yourself, essentially. And it was like a project like I'd never seen before, right? So having a teacher who was willing to step outside the box a little bit, who saw me as a student, I'm the only kid in the class, and he could see me very clearly. I remember him teaching Huck Finn with it in mind that, like, hey, this is a satire. Hey, this is abolitionist fiction. Like, I want you guys to recognize that when you're seeing these specific words, this is not what you think it is, basically. So yeah, just a teacher who sees the students, who is open to hearing what we have to say. Those are the kinds of discussions, spaces that would be best and most conducive for Dear Martin to be like effective in a classroom. It is weird that it's taught though. Like, I still have not gotten used to that.
You had a teacher figure, a professor figure. in this
I did. And that person is based on is sitting in the room. So Dr. Phoebe A is right there. It's my editor. So like, I had so much fun writing her in this book. It's so great. She has this very calming spirit. Beautiful.
All right, so everyone, please, let's first thank Nic Stone
Yay, me!
and congratulate her on publication of Dear Manny. Of course, there's books here for everyone, and you're gonna sign the book.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. So you can get your book signed yourself.
Yes. Hey, bring me that baby though.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thanks for coming, Ben.